Hello everyone, my name is Tarun. Welcome to the TelecomTalkShow. Today we have a special guest today who is an industry expert. His name is Karthikeyan, and we also have Tanay and Tarun, who is the chief editor of TelecomTalk.info. So today we're going to be talking about revival of BSNL and how BSNL can make a difference to the consumer and what BSNL should be focusing on. So to start with, we will address Karthikeyan as VK in the show. So VK, I hope you're okay with that, right? Like, totally fine with it. Okay. So VK, my first question to you is that, like, what should basically BSNL should focus at this moment right now? Like,
okay. BSNL is going through a phase of revival, right? The signals are right. And there are a lot of things that BSNL could be looking at, on how it's going to perform. First thing is, it should not do what it has been doing for so long. That's the first message, right? So what it should be doing is number one, the way they play in the market. That is something they may want to relook at. That's one. Second is the way they work with the customers. How they can position themselves with the customer. The second thing. Third is what additional enablement they can bring in, because they are not like any other telco, right? They are a government telco in the sense they have to look at also the non revenue making aspects also, like like the welfare and the improvement of the society as a whole. So there are a lot of these aspects that they should be looking at. So they should also focus on that and see how they can play a enabler role, I would say, for this. So that's a very high level summary I can.
Okay.
So, VK, what do you think BSNL's core focus should on be? Like, we got your first answer, okay, but when it comes to the consumer business side, like, how do you think BSNL should segregate itself from the private operators, and where do you think BSNL lacks right now, where it can improve upon with 4G?
Okay. See, when it comes to 4G and possibly 5G in the future, and also other capabilities like broadband overall, right? See, BSNL has been trying to compete with the other telcos so far, right, on the B2C side. Well, that is an okay thing to do. They should probably not restrict themselves to that. They should probably do something different. So one idea is, why can't they become the overall provider of the backhaul network, for all the players, and let the other retailers take care of the last mile connectivity part. This is not new, right? This has been done in other parts of the world already. So why can't BSNL take that role? That way, there is a lot of importance and a lot of other capabilities that come into the play. When this kind of thing happens. So BSNL will also not get into this no loss, the loss making kind of situation, right? It will be a better thing, and as citizens, we'll also be very comfortable knowing that the backhaul is not with somebody, private, but it is with the government organization. So that's a sense of security we'll get. So that's one thing they can do. When it comes to other than the B2C capabilities that they can provide, apart from this, see, they have a very big infrastructure setup, and that infrastructure setup is currently being lent and all that. Right? So some things are happening. So they can actually improvise on it and come up with amazing partnerships. There could be a public-private partnership capabilities that they can build it. And that is going to help them in two ways. One is they are going to do better in what they are doing or trying to do. Second is they are going to enrich more capabilities, and they are going to probably become even the top provider. That's a possibility they can become. And with we have been talking about things like connectivity as a service globally. So those things are still being discussed and still being ideated, and things are moving slowly. And BSNL can take a step forward and quickly implement those things, and that would really change the way telecom is happening. Already, India has already made a lot of leaps in the telecom space, in terms of adoption, quick adoption. So they can definitely leverage this, and they can show the world again how we are agile.
Right.
VK, I just want to ask you from a layman perspective. There would be a lot of other people listening. You referred something called backhauls. So can you just explain in layman's perspective?
Yeah, sure.
What's that backhaul thing is like? Yep.
Okay, so basically, when I connect to my network, right, either from my phone or from my Wi-Fi, I actually make a connection, and then that connection will actually go terminate somewhere in some kind of a backend, right? And that there's a lot of cables that will be running in that backend, and I'll be only getting one small part. To give you a kind of an equivalence, can I say, if you look at electricity, right? So if you walk along the highways and all, right, you can see big cables running. So these are all
Right.
very high powered cables. But
Right.
that's not the cable that comes to your home. What you get is, a step down power, right? So
Right.
you
Right.
will have your own local transformers. From there, you will get power to your home. So that is a step
Right.
down value. So that is a last mile connectivity, right? So
Okay.
what you get from the transformers to your home, but then you get power from the power generating plants, right? From
Right.
there
Right.
to all the way to transfer. So that is the backhaul. So whatever comes
Okay.
in the very high power connectivity, that is the backhaul. And what I
Okay.
get from there to my home is my last one.
Okay, so you referred that like it was also tested in somewhere else also, right? Like so, uh, where was it done? Like in Australia or like where? Like you
Yeah.
had.
See,
Uh-huh.
Australia is a very prime example, I can tell you, right? So where
Mhm.
this kind of thing is already happening. So what
Okay.
happened is, there is a company called Telstra which had all this, backhaul. They had
Acha.
laid down a lot of cables across the country, and
Okay.
since the government wanted to take control of this network thing, they carved out a separate company called NBN, and that NBN actually got a lot of this Telstra components, and they built the company around it. So
Mhm.
today, NBN is a company, government-owned company, which takes care of the backhaul, and there are a lot of other players, including Telstra, who now provide the last mile connectivity to the homes and offices. So
Oh.
it's a setup that is already there, and I think it will be good for BSNL to adopt that idea, at least consider the idea.
Right.
Okay. 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 That's a good point, VK.
So
Uh,
like VK, what do you think is the biggest focus area? Like I know that you mentioned before that BSNL should focus more on the customer care part, right? Because that is a major concern for many customers who are thinking about joining the telcos network. So like 4G, do you think it becomes even more relevant that BSNL should focus on its customer care services?
Okay, see, there are two parts to this. Okay, one is how BSNL should interact with the customer. That's one part. Second is how
Right.
relevant it is in terms of 4G. Right. See,
Hmm.
if you look at the technology that's growing now, with 5G also coming in, 4G components are definitely going to be there, even if 5G gets rolled in. Right. So there will be
Right.
this.
Yeah. Hmm.
I'm not getting technical here, but there are
Right.
capabilities
Right.
that will be
Hmm.
requiring.
Hmm.
So in that sense, it makes a lot of sense for uh, BSNL to roll this out properly. Roll 4G out properly and ensure that
Right.
people get hooked onto it. In order to do that,
Hmm.
one of the key things that BSNL should be looking at is how it interacts with the customers. Right,
Hmm.
that's the first part. So
Right.
see, today generally, if you look at any government organization, right, people generally get a feeling that interacting with the government staff is a very tough thing for them, right?
Right. Yeah.
There are some exceptions, right? So, but still, generally, whenever we think of a government organization, we think of slowness, we think of delays, right? Red tapeism,
Hmm.
etc. And if you look at the responses of ex BSNL customers, who switched from BSNL to other telco providers, or even the current ones, one of the key things they would say is their problem with interacting with the BSNL staff in terms of either getting new connections or upgrading, changing their connection things and all, and then any redressal of problems when they have any issues. How do they talk to them? How do they get the problem resolved? So these are the key areas where they are not satisfied with how BSNL is providing them inputs, right, or feedback, or solving the problem. That is something that BSNL should look to consider, and the best way to do it is change the way they operate, change the way they look at the customer. See, we talk about a lot of customer service related topics, right, across everywhere. But then, why doesn't a company like BSNL adopt it? Why doesn't it look at customer service as a key, should I say KPI, to help the customers? So
Yeah.
if it changes that approach, a lot of things can change. See, the office doesn't have to be swanky, right? We don't have to spend money there. The they instead they can actually start looking at how better they can serve in terms of how quickly they receive the request, process them, and respond back, and how pleasing that. So there are a lot of human aspects also in the customer response. One of the key things that you see with other telcos today is they are all cutting down on the human element in terms of interaction, which
True,
is
true.
becoming a kind of a mild irritant, for the customers. You take it take a look at any broadband or telco, right? They immediately, when you try to reach out to them, they will throw you to an IVR mechanism, or they'll say
Right,
contact
right,
us, and you'll go through the loop. But
right.
BSNL did not have that thing. You can directly walk into an office, you can talk to them. Though it is an irritant, you are made to wait and all, people will still feel that, I can face somebody, talk to them, I can, vent out my feelings. So that was a very good thing BSNL had. And they should not leave it. They should actually leverage it, and they should actually make it more better in terms of, improvising on the, let's say, the process flows that they have, right? How do they manage the workflow on all these areas? If they can do that, things are going to be really, really amazing for BSNL in the coming years.
That's like a very wonderful point. The consumer connect is something that we should, like, all the telecom operators should really look for. And even customers like us are definitely looking forward, because these days everything is coming into a self-care app, and then we have to wait and see whether someone calls. Like, I think even private operators like Airtel, Jio, everyone is doing. They're cutting down the consumer connect with the other human being. Rather, I think BSNL can literally leverage it like how things used to be earlier. I think earlier one can go to a BSNL consumer center, and they can talk and they can literally sort things out. But that's a very great point what you highlighted, Mr. VK. So yeah, Tanem, like, you have anything?
So like VK, what do you think in terms of tariffs? I mean, you've been following the industry for a long time. So do you think the tariffs will play a big role with BSNL's 4G, or would it be something that people would be more focused on the kind of services that BSNL can provide? Like, what do you think will be the major focus area?
Okay, again, there are two aspects here. Okay, so one is when you say tariff, right? If one telco, which is kind of gathering a lot of consumers to it, is changing its tariff, it will definitely impact the other telcos or the competitors, right? So in that
Right.
fashion, if BSNL can show the customers that it is changing and it is now becoming more customer friendly, and additionally it is offering low tariff, everybody will leave whatever they have and they'll flock towards BSNL. That's a very important thing that BSNL should consider. Okay. But then tariff is not always the key thing, right? So then again, we are talking about BSNL playing in the B2C area. But like I said earlier, they should not just stick to B2C, but they should also look at B2B or B2B2C in all those aspects, right? So when they do that, they should start looking at partnerships beyond B2C, right?
Right.
So here it's like a blue sky thinking. They should stop thinking like, what do we offer to the next guy? Instead of doing that, they should go completely. They can go completely crazy in their thought process on what all kinds of capabilities they can bring in. And when they do that, one of the things that's going to come to the benefit of the people is, for example, how IoT devices can become very popular, right? Or take, for example, let's say you have a lot of these security cameras that we are trying
Right.
to put for, in at the houses and the traffic signals and all. Now, if BSNL ties up with this kind of camera providing companies, and if that offers, a kind of combinatorial service, right, a partnership, that is going to change the way people are going to adopt, the CCTV camera service. And
Yeah.
both government agencies and private companies and individual customers are going to flock towards this thought. It's just one
Right.
idea. Similarly,
Yeah.
there are various types of partnerships BSNL can consider, which is definitely going to change the way the whole landscape is today. So that way, the B2C aspect is one, where you look at tariffs and other capabilities. Then you provide combinatorial packages and offerings with partnerships. Third is you actually can form an ecosystem. BSNL can
Right.
create an ecosystem where a lot of other private and public players can come in. There could be a kind of a service that could be brought in. Like you want to provide a Wi-Fi service somewhere, or Do you want to have some MENO capabilities? I mean, it's just the sky is the limit, I would say. Right? There are a lot of things that they can look at.
Okay.
VK, very great points. But I think if telcos like BSNL started making differences by hearing what you have suggested, I don't think so. Even they need really a good like tariff hike, or they need to compete with other private telecos. They just need to make a little changes among them, and customers will actually start coming into them. Like, and definitely that's gonna really help telecos like BSNL, like where the private operators, like with things are literally changing, BSNL can make really huge difference. I hope people from BSNL who are listening, at least they start making some little changes. And let's end the show here. Like, thank you all for watching this podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and wherever you're watching. And if you have any questions or suggestion, do reach out to us. And if you really want to have more podcasts with VK, do let us know, or the topics. We would be happy to connect on weekends and all. Yeah. Thanks, VK, for your valuable time and the suggestion. Industry actually needs people like you who can come forward and give some recommendation, which can really make a huge difference for the telco operators. Thank you,
Thank you
VK.
for having me on the show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.